You ever have one of those moments where everything just snaps into place? Like after weeks, months of being ignored, pushed around, watching someone stop all over the rules, it finally clicks. That's how it felt the morning Karen's SUV got a taste of hydraulic justice. But truth is, this story ain't about a car getting crushed. It's about what happens when respect gets mistaken for weakness, and how far someone like me, a guy who just wants his emergency exit clear, has to go to get it back. I moved into this townhouse complex about 3 years ago, left a high-stress job designing defense systems for private contractors. Yeah, think drones, sensors, security infrastructure. I wanted quiet. I wanted peace. So I picked the corner unit. Not for the view, not for the space, but for one very specific feature. A city-approved emergency access lane right behind it. That lane wasn't just a strip of asphalt, it was a lifeline. And as an engineer who's seen what happens when people ignore safety protocols, I took that lane real serious. Had it paved, marked with bright yellow crosshatches, even laminated the city permit on the rear wall. No one parked there. Not for 2.5 years. Then Karen moved in. She came in like a gust of smug wind wrapped in a tennis skirt and HOA ambition. First day, her moving truck blocked the fire lane for 3 hours. I tried being neighborly, introduced myself, handed her a copy of the access rules, even pointed out the signs. She smiled, nodded, "Sure, whatever, thanks." That smile? Yeah. That smile should have been my warning. Next HOA meeting, she nominated herself for vice president. Passed out this neighborhood betterment plan like it was the Constitution. She wanted uniform lawns, banned satellite dishes, matching fence colors, one pet per home. Someone asked her who made her queen. She smiled and said, "Oh, I just care more than most people." That line, man, I heard it so much I started hearing it in my sleep. Then came the parking. First time she left her SUV in the exit lane, I thought, okay, maybe she didn't know. Knocked on her door, pointed it out. She looked at me dead in the eye and said, "I just needed to run groceries in. You should really mark that better. It looks like a private drive." I pointed to the 6-foot-wide fire lane sign, the reflective cones, the city permit. She waved it off. Overkill. Her groceries took 2 hours. SUV stayed till dark. I let it go, barely. But then it happened again. And again. I left polite notes, even printed out the municipal code. No response. So at the next HOA brunch, yeah, we have those, I walked over and told her, "Karen, that lane isn't for parking. You're not just breaking HOA rules, you're risking lives." She laughed, sipped her mimosa, and said, "It's not that deep. No one's dying back here. You act like you're the fire department or something." Well, funny she said that. Because 2 weeks later, the HOA held a fire drill. Just a test, but the local station brought a real truck. They tried to get through the emergency exit, but Karen's SUV blocked it. Firefighters had to drag hoses 300 feet around the building, cursing the whole time. I stood there, watching it unfold, right next to Karen. She just shrugged and said, maybe next time they can use the front. Next morning, I got a visit from the fire chief himself. Small guy, big voice. Chief Mendoza didn't waste time. That SUV gets in the way during a real emergency, someone dies. And then he handed me a letter recommending I install a physical deterrent. Retractable. City approved. I nodded, thanked him, and went inside. Pulled up an old design I'd made back in my defense days. A hydraulic Bollard. Stainless steel, phone-controlled, discreet, legal. Within a week, permits approved, metal cut to spec, installers showed up with jackhammers. And the moment they started trenching, guess who showed up with a clipboard and sunglasses? "You can't dig without HOA approval," Karen snapped. I showed her the permits. She sneered, "You're installing traps now. What if someone accidentally parks there and gets impaled?" I just smiled and said, "Then maybe they shouldn't park in a marked emergency exit." That night, I got 3 HOA citations: tall grass, noise violations, and unauthorized surveillance. All bogus, all from Karen. But what she didn't know was I had receipts, video of every violation, time-stamped, copies of letters from the fire department, city code. I sent it all to code enforcement. Their response, one sentence: proceed as planned. When the Bollard finally went in, man, it was a thing of beauty. Smooth, silent, polished steel. You wouldn't even notice it until it rose. And when it rose fast. A few days later, HOA President Greg waddled up to me with that tight-lipped, "I don't want to be here" face. "Liam, we've had some complaints." I wiped grease off my hands. "About the city-approved fire lane deterrent?" Greg stammered, "Well, Karen thinks it's aggressive, unsafe." "Greg," I said, "you aware that fire crews had to drag hoses 300 feet because she blocked that lane 10 times? He tugged his tie. "Yes, but she's threatened to sue." I handed him a folder. "Tell her to go ahead. I welcome the paperwork." He nodded like a man walking into a hurricane with a paper umbrella. Karen tried everything after that. Fence violations, paint color complaints. She said my gate wasn't aesthetically aligned. I didn't respond. I was calibrating sensors. Heat, weight, motion. No accidental rises, just precision. And then came the showdown. Saturday afternoon, HOA mixer. Karen at peak power, strutting with her clipboard telling new residents how she runs the neighborhood. Then, like it was a final boss move, she parks her SUV smack in the exit lane. Again, looks at me like she's daring me. And I just walk inside. Pulled up the live feed. Bollard sensors pinged. Everything clear. One button. The Bollard rose. Slow, steady. Met resistance. Kerruck. Metal groaned. Undercarriage buckled. Fluid sprayed. SUV lifted off the ground. Karen's scream echoed like a fire alarm. She came running, barefoot, screaming vandalism. Cops came. I showed permits, letters, footage. They nodded. This might be the most legally documented Bollard in city history. Karen demanded I get arrested. They politely declined. Her SUV? Towed. What was left of it, anyway. But it wasn't over. She vanished for 48 hours, then showed up at the HOA reading with her arm in a fake sling, calling me a terrorist, handing out packets titled "Weaponized Bollard Installation." Claimed I'd turned the neighborhood into a war zone. Board laughed. I presented facts, permits, city approval. Karen slammed the table, demanded legal action. Greg finally stood up, spine and all, and said, "Karen, what happened to your SUV is entirely your responsibility. You ignored permits, you ignored safety, and your complaints? We're dismissing them." She stormed out, but not before filing a complaint with the city, claiming I was testing military equipment on civilians. The inspector who showed up? He laughed, said, "This thing's cleaner than our fire station gear." Passed with flying colors. Then came graffiti. Red spray paint. "Murderer parking enforcer." Caught her on camera at 3:14 a.m. Filed a report. She got fined. Her rental car? Towed. Again. And just like that, neighbors started speaking up. People she'd bullied, harassed, threatened. A petition went around. 75% of residents signed to boot her from the HOA board. The next meeting, full house. Karen brought muffins, thinking she could win hearts. Instead, she got voted out. For a while, things quieted. Then came the storm. Transformer blew. Power out. Smoke rose from the far end of the building. Fire crews tried the front gate, blocked by fallen tree limbs. They rerouted. Only option, the emergency lane. I triggered the Bollard, dropped instantly, fire truck roared in, saved a mom and 2 kids from a burning unit. One neighbor whispered, "Thank you, Liam." I just nodded. Later that night, Karen left a box on my porch. Inside, cupcakes. Vanilla, frosted poorly. Note read, "I was wrong. You were right." I didn't gloat. I didn't post it. I just went back to work. Some wars don't end with victory speeches. Sometimes they end with cupcakes. The neighborhood changed. Bollard's still there. Kids call it the Guardian. HOA rewrote policy, emergency lane to remain permanently protected. Karen still around, quieter now. No more flyers, no more fines, just a shadow, reminding everyone what happens when someone confuses control with carelessness. And if she ever forgets, well, the Bollard's still watching.